You've replayed the last conversation 1,000 times. You have the text screenshotted. You've dissected every tone, every pause, every shift in their behavior, convinced that if you could just find the one missing piece of the puzzle, the pain would finally stop. You call it closure. You tell yourself that if they would just look you in the eye and give you a coherent explanation, you could finally hit the reset button. You think you need their permission to be okay again. You are convinced that you are stuck in this loop of rumination because they haven't provided the final chapter to the story, but that is a lie you tell yourself to stay trapped. You aren't looking for answers. You're looking for a rewind button. And there is nothing more dangerous than the belief that the person who broke you is the only one who can fix you. We are biologically obsessed with completion. There is a psychological concept known as the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains are hardwired to prioritize unfinished tasks. When a relationship or a significant connection ends abruptly, or with unresolved tension, your brain keeps it at the very top of your mental queue. It treats the relationship like an unfinished report or a broken task, constantly pinging you with thoughts. What if? Why? How could they? The trap is believing that the unfinished business is theirs to resolve. We walk around with this hollowed-out feeling, waiting for a final conversation to fill the void. We assume that if we get the truth will set us free, but the truth rarely does what we want it to do. When you seek closure from someone who treated you poorly, you are looking for a logical explanation for an irrational act. You are asking an arsonist to explain why your house burned down. Do you really expect them to give you the honest, soul-bearing reasons? No. They will give you a sanitized version of events that protects their ego. They will tell you it was the timing, or that they weren't ready, or that it's not you, it's me. And because you are desperate, you will latch onto these flimsy answers. You will dissect them. You will think, if I had just been more patient, the timing would have been better. You didn't get closure. You just got a new narrative to obsess over. There is a darker layer to this pursuit. Closure is rarely about the other person. It is about your own refusal to accept reality. Think about the times you've had those final conversations. Did you walk away feeling serene? Or did you walk away feeling energized by the conflict, your mind racing, your heart pounding, your phone out to text someone else about how crazy it was? Seeking closure is often a performance. It's an attempt to maintain a connection, even a toxic one. It's a way to keep them in your life, to keep the dialogue open, because the alternative, total, absolute, silent detachment, is too terrifying to face. If you get closure, the story ends. And if the story ends, you have to face the silence of your own life. You have to face the reality that they don't love you, or they can't love you, or they don't want to. We choose to chase closure because we would rather suffer in the uncertainty of a maybe than thrive in the quiet of a no. When we spend months or years waiting for them to apologize, or to understand our pain, we are falling into the narcissism of the victim. We are convinced that if they just saw the destruction they caused, they would be devastated. We want to be recognized. We want the person who hurt us to validate that we were hurt, but holding on to this expectation is a self-imposed prison. It gives them power over your internal state long after they have walked out of your physical life. Every morning you wake up wondering if they've changed, if they've realized what they lost, or if they're finally ready to have the conversation. You are letting them continue to control your emotional trajectory. They aren't thinking about you. They aren't worrying about your closure. They have moved on, whether into a new pattern, a new life, or simply into a state of indifference. The only person living in the past is you. The most brutal realization is that your pain is private. It is entirely yours. Expecting them to participate in your healing process is like asking the person who stole your car to help you fix the engine. They are not a part of your recovery. They are the catalyst for your evolution, whether you like it or not. Why do we keep them in the villain role? Because villains are reliable. If they are the villain, then you are the hero, or at least, the noble victim. If they are the villain, then your current state of unhappiness is justified. You are allowed to be sad. You are allowed to be stuck. But if you accept that they were just a flawed, perhaps even mediocre, person who didn't know how to handle you, and that the relationship was just a mismatch, then the villain narrative dissolves. And if the villain narrative dissolves, you have to take responsibility for why you stayed as long as you did. That is the true closure. It is not about them. It is about you looking in the mirror and asking, why did I accept a love that made me feel this way? Why did I allow myself to be an option? The closure you are looking for is an exit sign, and you don't need their permission to walk through that door. Healing is not a conversation. It is not an apology. It is not a dramatic finale where everything is explained. Healing is the act of walking away without a backward glance. It is the decision that your peace of mind is more valuable than their validation. You do not need to understand why they left. You do not need to understand their why or their how. You only need to understand that the dynamic between you is not sustainable. You need to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the time you wasted. Forgive yourself for the hope you clung to. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now. That is the closure that works. That is the closure that heals. Everything else is just a distraction from the work of becoming the person you were before you lost yourself in them. Stop waiting for the story to be edited to your liking. Close the book, put it on the shelf, and start writing the next one. You aren't a character in their story. You are the architect of your own. If you are tired of waiting for someone else to give you permission to be happy, subscribe to this channel. We don't wait for answers here. We build our own.